Hi.
He's already here.
He's here. I guess that is where we should start. My son has decided to join the podcast today.
We've made this a real family podcast.
Yeah. Daycare closed unexpectedly, so Samuel's visiting us.
Welcome. Our first guest visitor
is Samuel.
Samuel.
He's watching Miss Rachel in the corner and visiting Mama.
Yes. He'll be in and out of shot. We're so glad he's here.
You're very sweet. Okay, I have a question. Are you ready?
Ready?
So we are officially moving into a new year.
Yes.
Resolutions.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on those? Do you love them, hate them, don't really care?
I am not huge on like a traditional resolution, but I am huge on utilizing this time of year for like new patterns, new things. So like kind of both and. I don't like sit and write like I'm gonna go to the gym, but I also like every year this is very much a either let's try something out. Like a couple of years, Hannah and I we didn't do sugar in January. One year we didn't do meat. So those are like resolution-ish, but they weren't like meant to be like, they're meant to just like try new things. So like I'm more of like, it's new time things. Let's try something new.
That's fair. We had the bonfire with the youth and we did in and out. So what things do you want to take into 2024 and what things do you want to leave out? Mm-hmm. I'm very impressed with our teenagers and how self-aware they are. That's like, good. It wasn't silly. Like they were really genuinely thoughtful responses, which really made me think about my own, like what I want to take in and what I want to leave out. Mm-hmm. At one point, they are so sweet and encouraging. I was like, I want to bring in like more fun. I feel like I used to be more fun. And they were like, you are fun, like so encouraging. And then one student was really honest. They're like, you're really fun unless you're stressed. And then
it's just,
not as much. I was like, so maybe I'll leave out some of the stress. That's what I'll do. It was really funny. So,
I love that. That's the beauty of working with teenagers.
Yeah. The honesty.
Yeah.
But in the best way.
Yes.
In the best way. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I'm Becca. I'm the pastor of family ministries here at Katy First.
And I'm Mark. I'm the senior pastor here at Katy First.
Welcome to Katy First Family Podcast, where we offer ideas, encouragement, and inspiration to help you and your family grow as joyful disciples of Jesus Christ. This week, we are talking about Epiphany and what you want your 2024 journey to look like 1 year from now. Where do you want to be 1 year from now?
1 year from now. Yeah, so I kind of like I mentioned, Epiphany, honestly, it sort of started with New Year's resolutions. And now as I've honestly begun to understand Epiphany a little bit more, these things have started molding together. And this past Sunday, that was really using the Epiphany story as an invitation into the journey of where God's leading us. And how we can look 1 year down the road and things will be different, and how we can have this invitation.
Hey, no sir, unsafe.
This is now a real family podcast. If you're only listening,
this is an unsafe work environment.
Lights are falling.
If you're only listening, you don't know that my toddler just tried to take my boss out with a light.
So all right.
Thriving.
And Epiphany. I've actually really come to love Epiphany more as I've understood it more. But honestly, okay, so here's the real truth.
Okay.
The real truth is...
Terrified.
I often had to preach an Epiphany sermon because it would be the Sunday after Christmas.
As an associate pastor, you had to.
There's the real honest answer.
Yeah.
And so I started... I got to preach Epiphany Sunday. It's the Magi text. Okay, what do I say? And then so then you sit with this text and then you preach it 2 or 3 times in a row. And so it sort of forced me to come back to this story every year. And now I've become to really appreciate it and tie it into this sense of like new year, new journey sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that is probably where... Like this Sunday, we talked about the Epiphany story and these magi going on this journey.
You like my decorations?
I love the journey. Yes.
Thank
For those of you who can't see, we have the 3 magi looking great. And so seeing this story is like this journey. Mm-hmm. And then I think I've always sort of pushed against just traditional readings of our scriptures.
Yeah.
Just because I think, not that they're always bad.
No.
But, just looking for something fresh.
Well, and it may not be helpful, right? Because it becomes to where you're not hearing it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just noise because you've heard it so much.
Yeah. And so I do think it was a big shift in me when I began to read the story, less about what's the gift that I bring to God this year, which is a fine question, and more of, hey, this is a deeper metaphor of how God opens us.
Yeah.
And the treasure that's within us. And have I found something that's worth me opening myself to? And not like a conceited, like, is something good enough for me, but like, there's so much of our faith that, I don't know, is not inspiring. Not like literally, but like it can just become so numbing that it's this challenge of like, am I really pursuing Christ? Because I think if we've stumbled upon Christ, that's going to really wake us up. Yeah. That's going to be exciting. You will know that you've stumbled on capital T truth. You'll know you've stumbled upon God's grace and healing when you're also noticing yourself opening. And so seeing this story as like this invitation into the journey, this invitation to hear God in all sorts of different ways, through the stars, through the scriptures, showing up to this manger. The treasure is what's being awakened in you.
Yeah.
A few years that hit me, and it's just ever since I've gotten that narrative, that's kind of become like the way I love to read this story. I'm sure in a few years I'll need to read it differently, but for now, that's what it's become to be.
There were several things that I thought really stood out to me that were helpful personally, and that I think are helpful for us as families. So, for instance, one of the things that really stood out to me was the way that you said, what's calling us. Mm-hmm. I think there are lots of times where when we're making our plans for what we want to do in a new year, we're making those plans based on like shoulds.
Yeah.
And what we think is the right answer, as opposed to really listening to what is actually calling us.
Yeah.
He's found some kind of...
That's good. We need the noise.
Thing.
We're making this Christmas story come to life.
It's a messy, ordinary...
That's right.
Lovely thing. The other thing that stuck out to me is, are you giving yourself to anything? I think actually what you said was to ask the question, am I giving myself to anything?
Yeah.
For me, that was a poignant question. I think I'm probably not the only one, because you are. The answer is yes. So, of course, we're giving ourselves to something. Is it what we want to be giving ourselves to?
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen one way or the other, so maybe let's do it on purpose.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I find that if I answer the question, what do I want to be giving myself to? It's always like people or relationships.
Yeah.
It's always a connection that way, right? Yeah. It's not almost never the things that it's not laundry. Mm-hmm. It's not laundry. Do I do those things to care for the people in my life? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's value in that.
No, but I think there is something to realizing what is getting the best. Okay, I have to say something.
Oh, okay.
On a jog this weekend, I was listening to the song, is it Best of You by Foo Fighters?
Sure. Could be.
Yeah. The line is someone getting the best of you. Mm-hmm. And I had already written the sermon, but I was like, oh man, like, if I were doing a Foo Fighters service, this song would be in the Epiphany sermon.
That's good.
Because of course there's going to be ordinary things. This isn't like, I'm not going to do the mundane things. We have to do them. And it's also true, it's worth taking stock of like, what is getting the best of you? Mm-hmm. And are you allowing that to drain you and not have the space to like, utilize the best of who you are into the relationships or in the jobs or in the passions or in the people that you care most about.
Yeah.
That's so true.
I think that like that for me is the takeaway. So when we talk about how we want to apply this for our families, right? My thought was, when we get to the end of 2024, what do I, as the mom, want to be able to say this was what our family life was like in 2024. And then I think we can ask every member of our family in an age-appropriate way, what do you want this year to be like? When, let's say it's the end, pretend in your mind you fast forward, what are some words that maybe jump out at you? Because like like Samuel can't tell me, like he doesn't have that developmental capability, but like I feel pretty sure he'd want to say things like he wants to have fun.
Yeah.
He wants to feel loved, whether he would put words that way or not. You know, he needs to feel connected, right? So at the end of the year, like there are some things that I know, you know, that Stephen and I want to have in our family life. And I think that is a really good way to start. And it might have to shift. And we need to go ahead and give ourselves that grace. Yeah. Because stuff can happen. Like, let's all remember, but not too closely, the January resolutions we made in 2020 and how by like March 20th, those were done. Like we had to make new ones, right? Yeah. And it's okay to say, hey, this was the direction we thought this was going to go. We need to make a change.
Right.
If somebody gets sick, if things get complicated, if life happens, you're going to need to adjust to realistic expectations. But I think saying overall, this is where we think so that you head in a way together.
Yeah.
I was telling when we were talking today with staff, I said that my goal every day of my whole life is to make it to the end of bedtime where he is asleep and I have been kind and patient that whole time.
Yeah.
Which means sometimes like the laundry doesn't get put away.
Yeah.
Or like other things just get sidelined because, I mean, sometimes even things that I would normally call important. Not every email gets answered, even though those people deserve a response.
Yeah.
Because I had to prioritize something, and that was my goal.
Yeah.
Was that my kid would feel kindness and connection from me that day.
Yeah.
And so having that in our mind does help us to aim in a particular way.
Yeah.
And that's something we're going to do as a church family too, but we can do this really intentionally in our families.
Yeah. And I honestly, the way I think about it is, and maybe this is the 9 in me, but it's, I'm not going to show up somewhere probably 100% with the intentions that I named.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the grace. But even if I show up somewhere with 20% of the intention that I wanted to have, isn't that so much better than none at all?
Yeah. Let's leave perfectionism out.
So it's like, So that's kind of like the beauty that I love of this. Like, you've got the excuse. It's the new year. Name some intention, name some direction, name something. And the goal isn't to 100% bat 100%. Even if you're batting 20, that's way better than 0.
Yeah.
And progressively these things get better. And so I don't know, that's just,
Yeah. And what a gift to our families to also kind of teach this intentionality.
Yeah.
You know, in realistic ways that matter. And I think like what you're saying, I think combating perfectionism. And can I say too, in a non-judgmental way, doing that here in Katy feels really important.
Yeah.
Like as I get to know families and get to just like chat with students and kids.
Yeah.
That desire for like excellence or nothing.
Yeah.
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what God's calling us to either. So having these practices of like, this is our goal, but our main thing is kindness towards each other or kindness to ourselves, right? I think just that is a really lovely goal.
Yeah.
So having those discussions, I think that's our hot take. That's our quick tip for this week is how have a conversation as a family about what matters to you. What's the goal? What's the intention for 2024? What do you want to be able to say at the end of it? Just a few words.
Yeah.
And maybe stick them on your fridge or something. Is that too cliche? Do it anyway.
No.
You know, put them somewhere where you'll see them.
Yeah.
And keep those in mind when you have to make decisions as a family. Use those kind of as your bearings.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, with Epiphany, New Year's, whatever the excuse is for that conversation, that's what it's a great opportunity for families, individuals, and see it as the journey, you know, to just start going in that direction. So I think, you know, bringing together this story of Epiphany, this Magi story that we know so well, this finally kind of concludes the beautiful, wonderful Christmas season.
Done.
Love ya. Now we get into Epiphany, which is less known and really less emphasized, to be quite honest. It's more this one day, though it is technically a season.
Yeah.
But it's a season, like, the invitation of this season is to be awakened. It's to see new.
Yeah.
And
aha.
Yeah. Aha. Oh yeah. So I think having those family conversations is one way to help do that.
Yeah.
Help make that happen for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for our families to implement this, to see how that works. And maybe we should make a note and we'll do a check-in in like July and see how we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you have found some inspiration and encouragement for yourself and for your family. For more information and events, we invite you to go to our website at katyfirst.org. We want you to know that in the middle of your ordinary and messy life, whatever that looks like for you in this moment, that you are loved, you are doing a good job, and you are not alone.
Thank you for listening, and as we want to connect with you as well beyond this. So we'd love to see you on Sundays at 11 o'clock. This week we have our Family Sunday School, which happens at 9:45, and meant to be something where parents and kids learn together. So come join us for that, and we'd love to be back with you next week on our family podcast as we talk about baptism. It's going to be great, and Sunday's going to be great as well. So we'd love for you to join us for that Sunday on baptism. Till then, have a great week.